Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I am pretty good, sir. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, yes. I really love doing The Rock. It was so much fun. Just a good old time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just need a silly movie. And The Rock fits that bill. We have previously said Con Air, so it was on our list eventually, and as is our end goal of Face Off, which will be I think drunk or drinking commentary video. We'll do it as a podcast episode, but I feel like we will probably have a few beers while we watch it and just kind of talk. I think that's the way to do it. But in any case, we're back this week doing our usual, fortnightly reviews of what we've seen. So you have certainly watched more than I have. So do you want to kick us off with a movie?
Yeah. So I will start with Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
So we've got Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Reggie Jean Page, or Jean Page, or something. What was that kid's name? Justice Smith and Sophia Lillis.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by John Francis Daly. So when we were, we just discussed this. When we watched the trailer, neither of us were impressed.
I think it's fair to say I fucking hated it.
Yeah. It just basically reminded me of the original D&D movie, and I thought, why are they did the same thing again?
I should point out as well. Yes, it reminded me of the original D&D movie. B, it had Marvel humor all over it. Nothing was taken seriously. In fact, I think I could be wrong. I seem to remember that first trailer literally had a scene of a black dragon spewing acid over like an army of people who are all going to die horribly, and then it just cuts to Michelle Rodriguez making a joke, or like Chris Pine making a joke, and I'm like, this is like, I'm sure that's not how the scene plays out.
No, it's cut together, but
but it's a horrible like Marvel thing. Like that Marvel humor really grates on me now.
Yeah.
And thirdly, this is a like mental thing with me. I really hate modern music in period or fantasy films. It annoys the shit out of me.
We discussed this.
I think we talked about it quite a lot.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Very rarely does it work for me, but it's probably just me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it can work, but I know exactly what you mean. The sort of the heartening thing I thought about the trailer was that at least the dragon and the creatures looked like they're supposed to.
Yes, they definitely consulted the 5th edition artwork and went, yeah, that's what a beholder looks like. Cool.
So basically, the story is you've got this group of sort of thieves. You've got Chris Pine's Egan, Michelle Rodriguez's Holger. And they basically they get, they have their little thing. Elgin gets a wife and has a kid, and he was a harper. Of course, he was a fucking harper. With that is also another good thing. Actually, it's actually set on Faerun,
that's cool.
Is very cool. At least you get lots of like name drops in this movie, which is kind of nice. It's some people would call it fan service. I would call it the fucking least you can do in a D&D movie, to be honest.
The bare minimum, yes. Yeah.
So basically, you find out exactly what happened, but through something he did, the Red Wizards of Thay kill his wife.
Okay.
But his daughter survives, so he basically sort of starts bringing up his daughter with this group, and then they become. He sort of leaves the Harpers. He basically says, being a Harper got my wife killed, so
sure,
I've basically become a thief. So he becomes a thief, and you've got his little group. You've got the barbarian. You've got the sorcerer who's a bit shit, and then you've got Hugh Grant's Forge, who is like this con man.
Sorry, so Chris Pine is a thief?
Well, he starts off as he's sort of he's a bard.
I was going to say, look, I thought he was a bard, but
yeah,
I mean, I know they can be kind of interchangeable,
yeah.
but
So he is a bard.
Okay.
And so basically during one of their heists, they trip a time stop spell, and some of them get away, i.e. Hugh Grant's character, through fucking obvious reasons, and the rest don't, so they end up in the far north in prison.
Right.
And they escape, and he wants to sort of get his daughter back. So, blah blah blah. So you've got this sort of. They go there. They then find out that Hugh Grant's character is now in charge of Neverwinter.
Right.
For how the fuck he got in charge of Neverwinter? It's like no one, obviously they tell you what happened, but he's like, how the fuck did that happen? And he has been bringing up Chris Pine's daughter.
Right.
So obviously from there they decide to.
That's good motivation. I'll give him that.
Yeah. So his main motivation for the movie is to one of the things they tried to steal when they got caught was this. I can't remember what it is. It's some sort of Harper's Mark. I forget the name of it, and it basically can bring one person back from completely gone.
Right.
It's like a one-time thing. It can bring anybody back. So his main objective is to bring back his wife.
It's like a revivify spell.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
So then basically, that's the story. Then the heist and the wider stuff. And I will say, obviously, the main bad guys are the Red Wizards, which is very fucking cool. And it's not really a spoiler, but Zaz Tam does fucking appear, which was quite cool. I was very impressed with that. So, overall, it feels like a D&D movie.
That is high praise, considering previous D&D movies.
Some of the costumes work, some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little hit and miss. The character of is it Zanuck? He's this sort of I'm not sure if he's like an assassin or whether he's just he's a paladin, isn't he? He's a paladin, sorry. He's a sort of paladin, and he has some sort of funny moments where he's a bit Draxy. He sort of takes everything literally and doesn't sort of get humor, but he's not in it that much, so he doesn't grate too much. But he does have some interesting moments. Pine's doing his best charming twat character, which
he does that well.
Perfect for this movie.
Yeah.
Again, Michelle Rodriguez is playing the tough woman, which is again fine because she does it pretty well.
She does it very well. Yeah, it's kind of increasingly her one character, but she is good at it. Which is fine. I mean, there's plenty of
I think I'd like her to have a little more muscle, but for the most part, I can believe that Michelle Rodriguez could break someone's face. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
She at least can handle herself.
Yeah.
But I believe her when she's punching the shit out of some dudes.
Sure. Yeah.
She's not a thin, 5-foot woman throwing 8-foot dudes around.
Sure. Yeah, she does look like she could handle herself for sure.
Doric the druid, I thought I like her. Although I think over in general, all the monsters and things look right. The spells, although most of them they don't name them or anything, the uses of them look pretty much spot on to how they're used in the game.
Good.
Some of the druids shifting is a bit too much, but fine. Like the owlbear, don't think druids can change into owlbears, but it's fucking cool. So you can sort of go, okay, I'll let it pass. The only thing I didn't like was she's basically a tiefling, but she's only got like little horns and this tiny little tail, and it's like I'd like to have talked about her, purple skin,
Yeah, commit.
you know, full black eyes. That
Mhm.
you know, I wanted to look like a real deep, like cool teeth thing. You know, it's fine as it is. The humor is not quite awful
Okay.
Marvel stuff,
I mean,
but it's pretty Marvel-y.
Yeah, I mean, I said to Ben about this because they really enjoyed it as well, and I said it wouldn't be the first time a trailer was just cut really badly and just made things look a certain way.
The sometimes the humor is there's an illusion spell at one point, and it starts glitching, and it sort of glitches like a CD, and the image sort of melts, and it's like, no, don't do that. That's awful. It just looks so silly and out of place.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of, I think the problem is, for me, is I think this movie represents how I've seen most modern players play the game.
Yeah, it's like all of the worst. Yeah.
Very sort of silly, and I never played D&D like that. I don't really.
I tend to go with the group.
Yeah.
And I'll do what the group wants, but my preference is not silly. I will say as well, I think I've said before, I find it frustrating. I personally think that there's no reason why a Dungeons and Dragons movie couldn't be taken as seriously as a Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it, and I always think it's a missed opportunity when they just go, "Oh, comedy." Like, no, like
there's a joke with this that there's a spell that they can bring back a dead person and ask it 5 questions. I think it is.
Oh, that's in the trailer, I think, or a clip. I've seen that bit,
and it's sort of quite funny, but it goes on too long.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's. Initially, it was like, okay, this is quite funny. This is a nice thing, but then it's like, oh, we've messed this up. Let's go and dig up someone else. Oh, this person can't help us. Let's go to the next one. It's like, oh, okay,
sure.
Can we hurry this along now?
Yeah.
There's a really good magic battle at the end.
Cool.
I won't spoil or anything, but that's really well done. I really thought that genuinely felt like it was in a D&D world. It felt,
well, that's good.
Actually felt like Faroon. And I said, the performances are pretty good, and other than some of the humor, just not doing it for me, it's not a bad movie. It certainly has moments where you're like, oh, can we not just get over it? I mean, Hugh Grant is doing what he does at the moment, which seems to be he seems to be liking playing over the top villains right now.
He does look like he's having a lot of fun,
doing it really well. I can't deny that. But sometimes it just feels a little too silly.
Sure.
And he's not the main bad guy, so it's not quite so bad. I think if he was the main bad guy, it would
be too much.
Be grating.
Yeah.
But he's not, so it's okay. He's off slightly. The effects are pretty good for the most part. There's a fucking weird thing with this dragon. They're in the Underdark. They've got to collect. I think it's a helmet. I forget what helmet it is. They've got to collect this helmet, and basically this dragon turns up. Now, I think I know the dragon is, and I do not remember it being the way they portray it. It's this hugely obese dragon that can't walk or anything.
Right.
So it's sort of I'm in two minds about the scene, because in one respect it's quite well done the way they're like running away from it, and they're on platforms that are sort of moving, so they're being unbalanced, and this massive fat dragon can't quite catch up with them. But because it's so heavy, the platforms are moving and they're falling towards its mouth.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be funny, and it's supposed to be, and for me it was a bit like, why did they do that. It's a very odd choice.
Hmm.
And maybe there's rules, or maybe there's been stuff that I haven't read that have embellished this dragon, and it is like that. It's like a massively obese dragon, but it just looked really fucking weird, and it just seemed like a very odd choice. But it was also quite well done, which is really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
So I'm very split on that one. It felt very odd. I did find out that the paladin character was supposed to be Drizzt, apparently.
Oh.
And it's going to be the Underdark, and I think they were going to have the Drow as the bad guys, but there was some unknown controversy, and they decided not to.
Okay.
So they made their own character, and they changed who the bad guys were. Which do you think, is that to do with the skin color, or because I know people have a problem with the Drow these days?
I wasn't aware that was a thing, but
yeah, well, they're black elves, aren't they?
Yeah,
and they're a matriarchal society that are all evil, and I think some people find that problematic.
Okay.
So I guess they just didn't want to deal with any fallout. Which
they probably just
fine.
It's not,
fine. I can understand that. It's like,
well, and if they've told a good story elsewhere, you know, there's I guess when you come to a property as expansive as D&D, with that much lore to go on, I guess they were like, well, path of least resistance. Let's just pick something else and, you know, find something that doesn't offend.
It's not like there's not shitloads of other stuff you can do, so it was...
Hey, let's just be thankful they even referenced source material this time around.
Exactly, that's it. That's for me, that's the, you know, some of the biggest...
I mean, it looks like they at least read the player's handbook, you know.
There's a great cameo from the... kids from the cartoon.
Oh, now see, now they should have that. Now you're selling me. I've got such fond memories of that NAF cartoon. I really do.
Oh, I love that cartoon.
Yeah,
see,
great.
I wouldn't call it NAF. I would call it a product of its time.
Yes, a product of its time.
It's a great 80s kids cartoon.
Yeah, I have got really fond memories of that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that got me into D&D.
Do you know, I found a cartoon the other day. I'll tell you after this review. That I forgot even existed. It's amazing.
So overall, I would say it's way better than any of the other D&D movies.
Right.
I mean, which is probably saying that much, but it's. I think if you enjoy I think that I don't know what, I can't remember what they bloody call it. Critical Role, is it?
Oh, yeah.
I think if you enjoy the Critical Role stuff, and is it Vox Machina, which I haven't seen, but
I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen either. I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think I think if you like that sort of way they play D&D with a sort of very jokey,
then this is it. Yeah,
you know, this is definitely for you.
Sure.
So I mean that's not really for me, but I can at least appreciate it, and it, you know, it was for the majority of the movie. I did enjoy it.
Good.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work, but overall, I mean, there's so many bits, you know, plot wise that you just see coming a mile off. It's like you're like, yep, okay, yeah, and there's a bit at the end where you just like you just go, well, as soon as they meant, I don't really want to spoil it, so I'm not.
No, that's fair enough.
But there is one bit where as soon as they mention something, and you just go, okay, well, that's just going to be ruined later.
That's where we're going. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you know that's obviously something's going to happen, and then that's going to happen. You see it coming a mile off. It's okay. It's fine. It's done well enough that you just think, okay, fine. And I think that the main thing that keeps you going is actually the characters are all pretty good. Yeah. You know, they're not going to like blow your socks off. They're not going to be ridiculously memorable. You know, they're not memorable. Excuse me. They're not going to be, you know, characters that you're going to want to see more of. No. You know, I don't think. But they're entertaining enough to keep you on their side. You know, they're good enough. So I sort of recommend it, really.
Yeah.
I think most people would. I think it's certainly if you're a fantasy fan, I think it would be worth giving it a shot.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
As long as you're not expecting fucking Lord of the Rings, then you're fine.
Well, I'm not. I saw the trailer.
Exactly.
I know I'm not. Yeah, I'm certainly. I will watch it eventually. It'll come to streaming, and I'll catch it.
I mean, there is genuinely a lot to like about the fact that it genuinely feels like a D&D movie.
At least there's that, right?
Yeah.
At least there's that. But yeah, like I said, I will definitely catch it when it comes to streaming. It just the trailer did nothing for me, so I'll wasn't going to spend money on it. But when it's available on something I'm signed up to, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I think you will enjoy it for the most part.
Ben said the same. He said I will probably enjoy it. So something to look forward to. And you've kind of sold me on that cameo. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I find this cartoon that I forgot it even existed.
Oh, yeah.
Like I thought it was like a fever dream of my childhood, and
I had a similar thing, but not with a cartoon. So you tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine.
Well, I came across a clip on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's the thing!" And I like for years I was like, "What is that from?" I have this really weird, like, very specific, vague memory of watching something once, and it's called King Arthur and the Knights of Justice.
Yep, I know that one.
Right, and I didn't even think it was real. I thought it was like a figment of my childhood, and then I just saw it on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I found episodes online, and I started watching it, and it's amazing.
Is it really bad?
Well, yes, and but simultaneously awesome. In that it's like so 90s. The plot, and this is not a movie review. We'll get to a movie in a second, but I need to go on this tangent. Bear with me. So King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are fighting Morgana Le Fay, and she defeats them and imprisons them all, and Guinevere. And so Merlin's like, "Fuck this shit, I've had enough." And he recruits American football players from the 90s and takes them back in time. And from what I gather from the pilot episode, his reasoning for doing this is that the star quarterback is called Arthur Knight. and that was his reason. And
that's some Marvel level thing.
It's amazing, right? So he takes them back, and then... but my favorite part of the show, of the pilot, is that they get there and they're, as you would expect, they're very accepting of just, okay, we're here now. This is what we do now. But Merlin shows Arthur Knight, not King Arthur, Arthur Knight. He shows Arthur Knight this vision of Guinevere trapped, and he's like, "You could have her. She's yours now. She's your wife now." Like, okay, and that's it. He's like, "Okay, cool, yeah, cool. I'll go rescue her." And it's like, but what about that's Arthur's love interest? Okay, fine. It's just, well, King Arthur is indisposed now. So the whole thing is that they're going to free the Knights of the Round Table and then get sent back to their own time to play football again. But it's awful. But it's so cheesy in 90s. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing the whole thing, but I do remember seeing a couple of episodes, and I do remember it being pretty fucking awful.
It's pretty awful. What was your memory?
So on a similar thing, I was doing one of those YouTube quizzes. It's a sci-fi quiz.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, you get a couple of seconds, they put up a picture of something, and you get a couple of seconds to...
Is this going to be like Lex or something?
It was... No, Lex is great. I love
it. Is great.
Lex. I haven't forgotten Lex. No, this one I forgot. Benji, Zax, and the Alien Prince.
Hang on. I don't think I even know that. I'm going to look that up right now.
Yeah.
So what is it?
So have you ever seen the Benji movies?
I don't think so.
The little dog, little scruffy dog.
Oh, he looks familiar. Is Benji the kid?
No, Benji's the dog.
The kid on the cover of this looks vaguely like I might have seen something like this before.
So I saw this when I was really I was probably about 10. It's from like the mid 80s, I think. So I was probably only about 9 or 10. And so you've got Benji, who was in these like movies from the 70s and 80s. He's basically like a sort of Lassie type dog.
Sure.
No, well, not the dog wise, but what he did was, he'd save people, and he was a little scruffy dog, and he'd save people and do stuff. And they made loads of movies, like Benji in Australia, and Benji Saves the World, and all those sorts of things. This one basically, an alien prince, his parents, I don't know whether they're dead or whether they're captured. Basically, they get invaded, and he escapes with his robot Zax, and they end up on Earth. And Benji, they run into Benji, and Benji sort of helps them.
Right.
So it's like every week, they're running away from these two aliens who've been the bad guy aliens that have been sent to hunt them. And I had completely forgotten this. I was like, I saw the picture of the robot. They showed the picture of the robot, and I was like,
I know that robot.
I have no idea what it was called, but I fucking know what that is. So I looked when they gave you the answer. It's like, fuck, I do remember that. I watched that when I was a kid. It's like, no.
I kind of love it when that happens.
And they do have episodes on YouTube, and I watched
I might have to watch some later.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But it's kind of sort of, lovable in its own way.
Yeah.
It's sort of sweet, but yeah, it was a complete one of those things where I completely forgot that existed. But it was kind of fun.
Fair enough. Speaking of, I guess, kind of fun.
Yeah.
I watched a film called Plane, starring Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter, and it's really stupid.
To be honest, the thing is Butler's he hasn't, not quite a joke, but he's become one of those.
I was saying
it's a Gerard Butler movie.
I was watching this last night, and I messaged.
Know where you're going at the moment.
Right. I messaged a friend last night, and I was like, do you know what? I feel like Gerard Butler is more talented than he's allowed to ever show.
Yeah.
Because he's always in really dumb movies now. Like, you see him in, like, Law Abiding Citizen, which I think went to kind of shit in the last act, but was generally a pretty good movie. He's amazing in that movie. Like, he's really good. But then he's just doing, like, the Fallen movies, and, like, they're fun, but they're really dumb. And this is kind of similar. I've
got a real love for what is it bloody called? It's a romantic one where he dies.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
No, it's not The Ugly Truth. That's terrible.
Did you give the ending away there, or did he die at the start? Is the whole movie that he's like a ghost? Right.
He dies at the beginning, and it's I can't bloody find it. It's basically it's him and his sort of his wife, and it's now I'm gonna forget her name. She was the next Karate Kid.
Hilary Swank.
P.S. I Love You.
Okay, I've not seen it.
So it's they're this couple, and he's this sort of he's a bit of a rogue. He's Irish, and she met him when she was sort of traveling as a student, and he dies, and it's really devastating for her, and she goes into this spiral. But he knew he was dying, so he left these letters for her.
Right.
And he leaves her these things to do to get her out of her funk.
Okay.
And it's cheesy as fuck, and it's real sort of
sounds very Hallmark
chick flick-tastic, but I absolutely adore it. He's so good in it, and Hilary Swank is great. Is the sort of the leading lady who's grieving. I really love it. It's got Gina Gershon in it, and I really like it. Oh, and James Marsters is in it as well, which is
nice. Wow.
Yeah. So he can fucking.
He can act, but I think he's done a Stallone where he's realised he'll just make more money if he just does silly action films instead. Yeah. And fair enough. This is one of those. So he plays a commercial pilot called Brody Torrance. He's a former RAF pilot.
That's a real Chad name, isn't it?
It is a Chad name, yes. He is from Scotland in this film, so he doesn't have to put on an accent or anything. He can just be himself. He flies for Trailblazer Airlines, and they're the start of the movie. He meets his co-pilot, and the co-pilot's like, oh, they're sending us through this really awful weather, and he's like, like hell, and he speaks to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, it'll save us fuel if you just fly straight through this storm, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. Actually, the guy's like, oh, the storm will move by the time you get there, and Brody's like, but what if it doesn't? And he's like, it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? And the worst happens. And the plane is heavily damaged in the storm, and they set down. They manage to find land, and they find a road, and they're like, right, we're landing on that road wherever we are. And they end up in the middle of the Jolo Island in the Philippines. So they're stuck there. I think they were heading. I can't remember where they were heading.
Which is really weird because they were heading from the UK to America. So.
No. I think they were. I can't remember where they were going from, but I'm sure it makes sense. I can't remember where they were going, but anyway, it's just kind of irrelevant. They crash and they're in the Philippines on this island, and apparently on this island, are these like bad guys, rebels. Right. And they run the island, so much so that no government interferes with them, because apparently they've kicked their ass so many times that even the government will not go to this island anymore. They're just stuck on this island alone. And they're
like pirates or something.
They're like pirates, but they own the island, and so no one, even governments, don't get involved with these people because they're just so bad. But fortunately, a marshal was on the plane, and he was bringing this big bad man who is played by Mike Colter, another guy who I think can probably act a bit better than the movies and things he's given. I really liked his Luke Cage. I actually did like him as Luke Cage. I thought he was good. So they crash, and he's on board. The officer kind of guarding him gets killed in the crash, so he's there and he's handcuffed, and Brody's like, hey, you can come with me and we'll go and find help, and he kind of agrees to be let out of the handcuffs in order to go and find help, and they're gonna try and get a signal out and call back to the States to sort of say we're down, and try and find out where they are. And then obviously it turns out there's bad people on the island, and they start murdering everyone. They soon find that people have been kidnapped before, and there's like a setup where they're filming executions and stuff, and they've obviously ransomed a few people before who happen to have crashed there. I guess it's just an island where planes crash constantly because of storms. I don't know. It's like Skull Island. And so. It's down to Gerard Butler and Mike Colter, particularly Mike Colter, to murder everyone and rescue, because while they're away, the passengers all get kidnapped. So Gerard Butler's like, well, I'm gonna get all of them back. I'm gonna go and rescue them. And Mike Colter's like, are you insane? They've got like an army, and But
so is he like ex-army or something, or was he just a pilot?
He is. He was ex-RAF, but they said he flies mostly. He mostly flew like big planes because he wanted to get into commercial flight.
Yeah.
So he's obviously got some basic training. He does murder some fools. But Mike Colter is the primary. Mike Colter's walking around at one point, sledgehammering people in the head. So he's definitely the one that does the most of the murders.
Right.
Gerard Butler's character Brody looks a bit sad after he's murdered someone. Mike Colter doesn't give a fuck.
I am going to murder you all, but I will feel bad about it.
Yeah. He's like, I will murder you all, but I will feel bad. For the most part. Whereas Louis, played by Mike Colter, he's just a bad man. And he's like, yeah, I ain't getting back on the plane. I'm getting out of here and escaping. And there's kind of this agreement where, you know, it's like, well, I guess you're free if you help us.
Yeah.
And anyway, it goes on like that.
You help me to rescue these people, and then you can go on and murder people.
You can go murder people on this island forever, or escape and murder people elsewhere. It's up to you.
This is your island now.
It's your island now. Yeah, you could just take over these pirates and just be, you know, be part of the rebels. This film, in a weirdly comforting way, this feels like a canon movie. Like made now.
Well, that's kind of awesome.
Like there's proper like Delta Force vibes with the plane, you know, getting stuck, and you know, obviously it's hijacked in Delta Force, but here it feels very similar in that way. The ending is so ludicrous, like it's absolutely ridiculous.
As only canon movies can be.
Exactly. And I don't know if it was just the mood I was in, because I'm in the mood for just some nice escapism at the moment, and it is so stupid, the ending of this movie. But like I said, it just kind of reminds me of a canon movie where it's low budget, it's really schlocky, but you know, it is what it is. It's very mid. It is what I would say. It's not terrible, it's not amazing. The ending is absolutely ludicrous. But you know, whatever. It that's my review. Whatever.
To be honest, you've convinced me. I wasn't going to bother.
It's proper naff. It is proper naff.
Fun.
It's proper naff, but it is kind of fun, and you know what's going to happen the whole way through.
Yeah.
You probably won't see what happened. You probably won't get the ending because it's that ridiculous. But aside from that, you can pretty much guess how everything goes. It's all right.
Is it actually Skull Island?
No, it's not. No, that would be amazing. No, they do escape through, I guess you could call it conventional means, but it's just a very ridiculous conclusion.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Plane. I don't know that I recommend it. If you want to just, I don't know, have a couple of beers and just laugh along at a silly dumb action movie, like a canon movie, it's perfect for that. Like it's just that kind of hour and a half time killer. You know, it's fine. And there's a place in the world for films like Plane, and
you definitely convinced me to watch it now.
I'd be curious. I'm not saying it's good. It just does remind me of canon in a kind of fun way.
That's kind of what. Yeah, that's convinced me. That sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah. So anyway, what else have you watched?
So I've also seen Renfield.
Yeah, Renfield. Now this is a film I am very interested to see.
Yeah. So directed by Chris McKay, who'd previously done The Tomorrow War, the Lego Batman movie, and the Lego movie as well, I think. Yeah.
All films I have enjoyed.
So we've got Nicolas Cage as Dracula, Nicholas Hoult as Renfield, Awkwafina as Rebecca, and we've got I'm gonna murder her name. I'm terribly sorry. Shohreh Aghdashloo.
I think
who is that wonderful actress,
right.
Wonderful older actress with that amazing voice.
Oh, from The Expanse and stuff.
Yes.
See, I knew who you said. As soon as you said that amazing voice, I was like, I know who that is, because she does have. She's like, I want her to narrate every audiobook I listen to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want her to play the matriarch of the family that I'm writing. Which she does in this. She's basically the matriarch of a cartel, basically.
Okay.
So basically, this starts pretty much with the 31 Dracula.
I've heard that.
But with Cage, superimposed in as the Dracula, and Hoult is the Renfield, which it kind of works.
Because he is like playing like Lugosi Dracula, right?
This is basically a sequel to that movie.
That's fantastic.
It's kind of obviously a heightened one.
Of course, but you know.
And I think one of the funniest things for me is famously, Lugosi's, you never see Lugosi have any fangs. You don't see fangs or anything like that. Nicolas Cage's Dracula has all the fangs.
Yes.
All of his entire teeth are just sharp. He's vaguely like the London After Midnight Cheney.
Oh yeah.
Vampire. He looks a little like that, teeth wise and stuff. So you get Holt explaining that he's in sort of this support group for people with terrible spouses, and
such a good setup.
Yeah, it's a great
genius setup.
He's dependent on him, and he keeps going back to him even though he knows he's a terrible partner and all that sort of stuff. And you get him explaining all this with a black and white thing, and then you get this this sort of thing of what happened, and you get this these vampire hunters coming to kill him, and it sort of occurs to him he can finally be free of Dracula, and he can move on and
sure, so it's like an abuse victim, and then the police turn up and they're like, oh, it's my moment, I can escape and get out of this. And
it's kind of it's
a great setup. It's brilliant.
He's trapped. Dracula's trapped in this sort of magic circle, and the guy who plays the priest, that's doing this sort of there's like a priest and a hunter. The priest is William Ragsdale, who, if you don't remember the name or don't know, he played Brewster in Fright Night.
Oh yeah,
which is great. He was unrecognisable to me. I was like, who is that? Because he's got this beard on, and obviously he's a lot older. But he's playing this priest, and he's got him trapped, and he's Renfield's thinking, oh, I can let him go, but of course Dracula's like, but without me, you'll be no one, and you'll have nothing, and you think they're going to let you go if you've done terrible things, and I'm the only one who understands you. So of course he fucking saves him and gets him out. And then of course they spend they have to move, and so they move to America, and they're living in this abandoned hospital, and basically he's trying to bring him back to full health, as it were. And you get this amazing. He goes in to sort of see him at one point, or goes in to feed him some people that he's captured, as it were. And you can see his bones and his muscles through poking out of his flesh and stuff. It's really good makeup. It looks really cool. He's all like twisted and broken, and obviously as he gets better, the makeup sort of lessens and stuff, but it looks really, really cool. So then basically Renfield is explaining things to you, and tells you what he does, and he's in this what he does is he uses the support group. He listens to the stories of these people, and then he thinks, right, what I do is I listen to the stories, and then I go and kill the people. I bring their partners to Dracula to feed on.
Yeah.
So while he's doing that, he basically a bunch of a gang, the people I'm not explaining this very well. The person he was going to kill had stolen drugs from this gang, the Lobos. And while he's there trying to get these people, the Lobos turn up to kill them as well.
Right.
So this big fight ensues with this colossal sort of luchador-wearing dude. And this, Renfield shows you that if he eats bugs, he's got part of Dracula's power. He eats bugs, and it gives him basically superhero powers. So he runs around, rips arms off, and can heal, and do all that sort of stuff. So this big fight breaks out. Dracula's displeased with the quality of the people he's bringing him. And meanwhile, the gang of like, this is interesting. What's this? Is this like a new player sort of that we have to worry about?
Sure.
So he's in he's in this this bar, sort of trying to think of who to take to Dracula next. When he takes this, Dracula says to him, "Why do you keep bringing me these terrible people to eat? They're awful. It's trash. It's like junk food. It's like I need nuns, buses of cheerleaders." And so later on, when he's sat in this pub and there's a table opposite him, and he's like, "Who shall I pick? Who do I pick? I need somebody. Who do I?" And he looks over, and there's a table full of nuns,
right.
and then a bus of cheerleaders drives by. So of course, while he's there, the Lobos send some people to kill him.
Yeah.
But Awkwafina's Rebecca, who's a cop, she's in there as well, and they're sort of there to kill her. It's sort of convoluted, but it all works out. She's basically the only good cop in a completely corrupt police precinct.
Right.
So she's already tried to arrest the drug lord's son, who's this fucking complete douchebag kiddie, played by Ben Schwartz. And basically, Renfield completely falls head over heels for her. He sees her and he falls in love, and he kills all these bad guys. And then from there on, obviously, it's Dracula gets involved with this gang, and he's trying to, he moves out and gets his Renfield gets his own apartment, and he moves out and stuff, and he's trying to date this copper.
Yeah,
and obviously, and then it spools out. I really love this movie. It's real fun. It's just over the top silliness. Really good, great gory fight scenes, which is slightly hampered by the fact that they're using CG blood, which is
of course
a little annoying.
Yeah,
mainly because there are scenes where he's literally pulling people apart, and he should be completely covered, and he's
sure.
Afterwards, he's just got a little bit of blood on him, and you think, no, that dude,
he just exploded. Yeah.
Red, everything should be red. But other than that, that's a minor annoyance. The rest, there's genuine cool gore and makeup effects. I think the makeup for Cage's Drac is really fucking cool. It's relatively unique. It's got this he's got this blue tint to him, and he's clearly studied about 5 or 6 different Draculas, and he's kind of looped them all.
Sure.
When you see him walking around, you can see Lee's Dracula, and you can see the Lugosi Dracula, and you can see maybe the Langella Dracula. Sort of he's taken little bits and pieces.
This is a role that Cage has always wanted to play, though, right?
Apparently, there are 3 roles he's always wanted to play. So Captain Nemo, Superman, and Dracula. So he's kind of got 2 of those down.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played Nemo yet, but he's he didn't, strictly speaking, play Superman.
He got to wear an outfit once.
Yeah, he got to wear a couple. There's a couple of outfits actually. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
There are lots of different outfits they put him in. Some of them are like, wow, I'm glad you didn't fucking go with that. Others are like, actually, that's quite cool. Because at the time it was the long-haired Superman at the time, so he's got the long hair, and I think it would have worked for what Burton was going to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to have seen it anyway. It might have been a complete catastrophe, but I think it would have been fun. I think he did. I think he has gone on to voice Superman. I
believe he did. Show. Yeah.
So he's kind of played Superman, and now he's completely, he got his Dracula wish completely, and he does it. He is full on Nicolas Caging this,
of course,
and it's great when he does. And I think he's not overused as well, so it doesn't get too much. I think he's used just enough that it's not, too much. And Nicholas Hoult, who is one of my favourite actors right now, he's great as Renfield. He's so charming and so sort of lovable in this sort of God, just get over it. Stop being such a pussy. and it's really sweet. Awkwafina is fine. I've seen her in a number of movies and where she's really grated on me. In this, she was okay. She wasn't too bad.
Oh well, that's good.
Overall, I would recommend this to any horror fan. You know, as long as you're aware, it's clearly tongue in cheek. It's clearly silly, and massively over the top. But it's really well done. It's the performances are for the most part really good. The story's really fun, and I love the whole the idea of Renfield going to these support groups.
Yeah, it's genius. That is genius.
Getting his stuff out is really fun, and it's done really well. There's one thing at the end which was like, okay, I kind of see why you did that, but I'm not going to spoil it. But it was something happens at the end, and you sort of go, oh, did they really need to do that? But I'm sort of fine with it. It's okay. Sure. But overall, it's just a highly enjoyable vampire comedy. It's just brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It's real fun, real over the top nonsense, I guess you would say. Just If you again, it's always that. If you love Kate and Cage being over the top, then you're gonna love this.
Yeah, it's certainly my wheelhouse. And I was sold by the trailer. The only thing I didn't like in the trailer was the powers thing. Like, for me, Renfield having those powers kind of undercuts the skit. I
think if it wasn't for the fact that the story it is, and
I'm sure it works.
Told it,
it
works perfectly for that. I think if it wasn't in this movie, if it was, they were trying to do that in a deadly serious Dracula, if they were trying to do this for Coppola's Dracula or something, it would have been like,
sure, yeah.
No, this is just. But for the way it is, it works really, really well, and I just really enjoyed it. Really fun, really well put together, and highly recommend it.
Excellent. Well, I also watched Air, which is the first of two docu movies that we're covering this week. So this is a weird one. Ben Affleck directing, decided to get an all-star cast together. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman.
Doesn't it feel like Ben Affleck's in a sort of netherworld right now? He feels like he's sort of away from everything, but it feels like he's been suspended or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like he's in this sort of
limbo.
Yes.
But he's still tremendously talented.
Oh yeah.
So he's still producing.
It's not through his anything he's really done that he's in this sort of weird place.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and we've also got Viola Davis and Chris Tucker. So this is a film. This is a film about Nike, the trainer company.
We're English, it's Nike.
Signing or getting the rights to make Air Jordan, obviously the biggest brand that Nike probably ever had. Yeah. Just a weird idea to make a movie around this. It's like a shoe company gets the rights to sell shoes with a celebrity's name on it. That's the story. But
I was a kid when these things came out.
Oh, that's the thing. There's the nostalgia thing, right? And I loved that The Last Dance. I think I said before, it's like my favorite documentary during pandemic. It's one of the best documentaries I've seen. Because I don't even like or watch basketball, but The Last Dance, which was like an 8-part series, a documentary about the Bulls and about Jordan, and it made me wish I'd watched basketball in the 90s. By the time I'd watched that documentary, I was like, wow, this is incredible. So that kind of convinced me to watch this as well, because I was like, well, I really liked that documentary. Obviously,
showed fucking basketball over here in the 80s.
Well, yeah, this was so that kind of convinced me to kind of give this a go. And also, I do really genuinely think that Ben Affleck's a great director. And it's got a great cast. So I thought I'd give it a go anyway. And it basically follows the story of a talent scout called Sonny. And he's basically working with Nike. Or for Nike, I should say. And Nike are on the verge of shutting down their basketball division of shoes because they're just not getting any sales, and they're struggling to find basketball players to kind of have sponsor their shoes, right? And the big hitters like Adidas or Adidas, depends on where you are. We're in England. And Converse, they're like the big guns, right? And Nike are really struggling to make sales in the basketball shoe division. So Sonny is like a basketball. He's like a talent scout, and he is like hugely knowledgeable on all things basketball. And at the start of the movie, they're really struggling to come up with a with a person. He watches one of Jordan's rookie year shots, and he realizes that Jordan has got something and that he's going to be huge, right? But there's a bidding war on for Jordan at the moment. This is early on in Jordan's career, obviously, but this, there's a bidding war going on, and he basically bets his reputation and ultimately pretty much the whole of Nike's basketball division on Jordan. Whereas normally their business strategy is historically, according to this film, been based around, we'll get 4 or 5 sponsors. His plan is, we haven't got that much money because we're on the verge of shutting down this division. We've got $250,000. I am gonna instead of doing 4 or 5 people, I think we should put all our money on Jordan. And they're like, you're crazy. And he's like, well, look, this is my reasoning why I think he's on the verge of becoming huge. I think he will be huge. And obviously he's being courted by these other people. I don't think they'll go to 250,000 for him. If we do that, I think we will. He has to deal with Jordan's agent, who is a complete asshole in this movie. As all agents probably are in real life. I don't know.
I think you
I would imagine it's on the job description.
Asshole.
Yeah, totally.
Job, I think.
He is fantastic. I'm trying to find the name of the actor because he's playing David Falk is the agent. Who plays him? Because he is amazing.
Cena.
Chris Messina. He is superb at being the biggest asshole of this movie. He's so awful. You just the kind of person you love to hate,
Yeah.
And he is full on obstructive. He's like, look, Jordan doesn't like Nike. He is not even considering you as an option. He won't even meet you. And Sonny's like, just give me a meeting with him. I just want to meet him and give him an offer. He refuses to even give him an offer. So Sonny takes it upon himself to go ahead and go over the head of the agent, which is an unheard of. It's a rule you don't break.
Yeah.
Does it? And he goes to visit Jordan's mum, his mum and dad, directly to speak to them about setting this deal up. Played by Viola Davis. She is fantastic. Everyone is fantastic in their roles. That's the thing that really probably sells this movie. Everyone is great. The whole cast are superb. I did feel a bit like Chris Tucker was going a bit overboard, but that's kind of what Chris Tucker does.
I was going to say it's Chris Tucker. I don't think he has a subtle moment.
No. And the thing is, I always have this problem. I've said before, quote unquote true stories always make me uncomfortable because I don't know, right? I don't know how real this is or how it's obviously based on true events, but who knows? But it's a very compelling cast and a very compelling story for the most part for something so something that I care so little about. It's a shoe company getting a sponsor for their shoes. Carried by the cast for the most part. Affleck's great. He plays like the CEO, and Matt Damon's fantastic, obviously, as Sonny. They decided, I can only assume that the thinking was, this is a movie about Nike and the people who work at Nike, right?
Yeah.
No one fucking knows who these people look like. However, everybody in the world knows what Michael Jordan looks like.
Yeah.
So there are some... I kind of like this, but I imagine people won't. They made the decision to never show Michael Jordan's face in this movie. They Michael Jordan's in the movie. He never speaks, and the camera never pans to his face. The camera's always like panning away, or like he's like standing and he's too tall, so he's out of shot. Or like, it's weird. It's really weird.
Is it Nordberg in?
Yeah, kinda. Like, he never says a word. It for me, it worked. Because I was like, who do you get to play Michael Jordan? He's so recognizable as Michael Jordan. And they kind of, I think they got away with it. But I can see people probably being annoyed with this because, like, you never see Jordan. It's a Jordan movie without Jordan. And apparently Jordan was involved in this movie. So it's not like, it's not like they didn't have rights or something. He totally signed off on this.
That's actually it's a kind of cool decision.
I like it. I personally think it really works.
I'll probably give this a go. So I'll see how it falls. But that actually sounds kind of cool to me.
It worked for me. And honestly, I had a blast watching this movie. It's not a film I ever thought I would find in any way particularly enjoyable, but I think it's well written. Don't know how true it is, other than I know that Air Jordans exist, so I know that they did end up making a shit ton of money off of that.
Yeah.
But I just think every character in this is fantastic. They're all compelling, it's just a really well written, well directed movie. Like I said, I can't speak to the truth of the film. But I can certainly say it's a terrific cast, terrifically executed film. It's really fun, and obviously, it's set in the 80s, so the soundtrack's great, as you would expect. I really liked it, and I don't really have much more to say about it. It's a weird one. Yeah. It's weird to think like, hey, why do you want to watch this movie about how Nike managed to get a sponsorship for their trainers? Not really.
It sounds fucking batshit crazy, doesn't it? It's like, why would you want to watch that?
But it works. It kind of works.
And so, if that's how you feel about that one, I'm going to do the similar one. I'm going to say similar stuff. Tetris. I watched Tetris.
Yeah. So tell us about Tetris, because now I do know the history of Tetris enough to know that there is a very interesting story here.
Mm-hmm. And I'd seen a documentary about it years ago on I think Channel 4 or something. Many. So I remembered it mostly, as it were. So basically, we got directed by John S. Bard, who'd previously done Filth, which I really great movie I really liked. And Stan and Ollie, which is another one I thought was a really interesting movie. So we got starring Taron Egerton, Nikita Efremov, Toby Jones, Roger Allen, Anthony Boyle, and it's basically the main. So your main character is Hank Rogers, who was I think was he Norwegian? I think he was, let's just say Scandinavian, who was living in Japan with his Japanese wife, and he had his own little company, software company, and while he was trying to sell his a gaming conference, while he was trying to sell his version of Go,
mm-hmm.
One of the sort of girls he's got to sort of bring the customers in, he sees her playing on somebody else's game. So he goes over and says, "Look, what, I don't pay you to play other people's bloody games. You just pay me over here on mine."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, but this game's really good." And he's like, looks and he's watching, and he talks to the guy, and it's Tetris. And he immediately falls in love with it, and I mean like hard. He loves everything about this fucking game. He says he basically he's explaining this story to his bank manager basically.
Right.
And he's saying, I played it for like 5 minutes and I've been seeing falling blocks ever since.
Yeah.
He's completely obsessed with this game. He's found out where it came from. He's found out what it is. And you basically get introduced to Alexei, oh Christ, here we go, Pajetanov, who created Tetris, who basically was a government, obviously because he's a fucking government worker, because everyone works.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
in Russia.
Yeah.
So he's basically a sort of a Russian programmer, and he's made this game on his, in his spare time, and it's on a incredibly basic Russian computer, which doesn't have colors or solid blocks or anything. I think he says he uses the parentheses for the blocks, and he basically worked on it with a couple of his friends, and then copies just went out. Copies went out to everyone in workplaces in Russia, and it got to the point where Russians weren't doing their jobs; they were just playing this game.
Yeah.
So Rogers basically persuades he says to his bank manager, I'm going to get the rights to this and I'm going to sell it to Nintendo. He said, I think it's Mirasoft, maybe. I think they've got the rights to partial rights or something. They got rights to do something in America, I think it is.
Yeah.
But they haven't got the console rights, and they don't have I think that's right. I think one company has the computer rights, but they don't have the console rights, and they don't have the cabinet rights.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, I'm going to go to Nintendo, and I'm going to say, exclusively give them the rights. So he goes to to Nintendo, and he says, he persuades them, he kind of sneaks in, gets this audience with him, and he the head of Nintendo, and he says, I can do this, blah blah blah. Then he finds out that he doesn't have the license that he thought he bought, and the other company, who turns out to be Robert Maxwell's son's company, and we've got Robert Maxwell played by Roger Allen, who immediately, as soon as he speaks, it's like, oh, it's Roger Allen.
Yeah.
Every time I hear his voice, I just hear him saying England prevails.
Mm-hmm.
He's heavily made up to look like, Robert Maxwell. And his son, Kevin, played by Anthony Boyle, who is utterly loathsome. He is such a rich, privileged dickhead. He's really... However, I certainly did. You kind of feel sorry for him, because he's sort of living in his dad's shadow, and he's getting, he's not getting told the whole picture from his dad. Meanwhile, his dad's going through fucking money problems and dodgy fucking dealings are going on. So you've got that side of this sort of whole fucking rights thing. It's like a race to get the rights. So he basically says, they say to the Rogers character, Taron Egerton, he's like, basically, you don't have anything. It's fine. I'll just go to the source. He's like, what do you mean? He says, I'll just go to the guy who made it. It's like, what, in Russia? It's like, yeah. It's like, you don't just go to Russia and talk to people. It's just not done. It's like,
yeah,
I'll be fine. So off he fucks. And he goes to Russia, and he goes to, he's followed around by the KGB, and you've got this particular KGB agent who's a real, villainous KGB douchebag, Valentin Turofnov, who's played by Igor Grabazov.
Right.
Terribly butchering the name. I'm terribly sorry. He is the real sort of snarly
He's he's just
scares
taken
children, that sort of character. You know, he's
taken
like,
the day off from chasing Rocky up a mountain to chase this Tetris dude.
You know, and so you get all these like meetings with, you know, him going to see the maker, and you know, him seeing the representatives of this company and being told this is not how it's done. You come back tomorrow, and then he's told by while all this is going on, it's the beginning of the collapse of the Soviet Union. We've got you know, the Gorbachev is you know, he's slowly breaking up the Soviet Union. So this KGB guy sees an opportunity. He can make money for himself here.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts dodgy dealings as well. So there's this whole convoluted, you know, trying to get the rights, trying to get, you know, what this and that, and getting fucked over by the Maxwells, and it is so fucking enjoyable. And like you said with the Nightmare, it's like, it sounds ludicrous. Why the fuck would you want to watch a movie about how some dude acquired the rights to Tetris?
Yeah,
it sounds
like it's not
rubbish.
Even because the story of the guy who made it and everything he went through is fascinating. And kind of awful.
They only because of it's broad strokes, so you don't go into the whole, you know, his whole story.
Yeah,
but you do get the broad strokes of it, and obviously there's some massive embellishment on certain parts, like, you know, there's a car chase, for instance, that of it clearly did not happen. But it is so enjoyable, and the tension, it does an amazing job of building up the sort of tension of just sort of waiting for phone calls and things, and just trying to sort of get hold of someone.
Yeah,
and it's done so well. And Taron Egerton, who again, like Nick Holt, is one of my favourite actors right now. He is utterly brilliant as this sort of guy who has genuine passion for this game. He wants to get, you know, he wants this game out there. He wants everybody to play this game.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I mean, obviously he wants money and stuff. He wants it, you know, because he's a, you know, he's a developer, and he wants his company to succeed. And, you know, he fucks over, you know, himself in many ways to try and get the money for this thing. And he's kind of ruining his marriage with his, you know, because of some of the decisions he's making. But he wants to, you know, he wants to do well. He genuinely wants the maker to get his due. You know, the guy says, I don't, you know, why do you want to do this? You're just like everybody else. I won't. He's like, no. I love this game. I want to make sure you get your due. I want to do you well. I want to serve you well. I want everything to work out, you know. And you fucking believe him. You believe that this guy is genuinely wants the best for him, and he wants this game out because everybody needs to play this game. It's fucking amazing. It's honestly one of the best movies I've seen for a while.
That's great news.
And it just sounds daft, you know.
Well, yeah, same, right? It's like, who cares? But
genuinely, there are great moments of tension. There are great performances. You know, you've got Toby Jones as this sort of go-between. You've got, you know, the sort of translator that he gets to, you know, when he's trying to sort of go into these offices and things, who, you know, obviously it turns out to be a KGB agent. But, you know, you get this little thing with her and all these little sort of stories that are around it. It's just genuine fun and really, really well done movie. I absolutely adored it. I think everybody should see it just because it is a batshit crazy idea for a movie, and it works so well. It's just a genuinely fun movie.
Awesome. It's definitely one I want to watch. So
yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's a genuinely great movie.
Excellent. Well, anyway, tell me about Ferngully 2.
So Ferngully 2, or as some people will know it, Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yes. This time it's about whaling.
Yes, and it really is.
Never a more relevant a topic.
So we all, we know what it is. It's James Cameron. It's Sigourney Weaver. It's Sam Worthington.
Yeah, it's a great cast, and it's visually stunning, right?
And you've got Stephen Lang is back.
Oh.
Yes.
Hang on. I don't really remember Avatar 1. Doesn't he get knackered at the end of Avatar 1?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, I thought he was, right? So, okay, so he's back. Okay.
But they kept his...
they kept his DNA.
Well, no, kind of. They also kept his memory engrams, basically.
Okay.
So him and a bunch of people that all died...
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that he's back, because I really like Stephen Lang.
They've brought them back, but they're all blue people. So they brought them back. There's like a unit of blue people.
Oh.
That are all evil.
Oh no.
And work for the.
They're going to infiltrate the other blue people.
He wants Sully dead.
Sure.
So that's what basically his unit are going there, and they're going to kill everybody. Everybody that was involved in his death, basically.
Sure. When is this one set? Is this like
I don't know how.
Like a couple of days later, or a year later, or
no? I think it's time has moved on quite a bit actually because their kids have grown.
Oh, okay. So so a little while. Yeah.
Kids. So there's basically obviously they got married. Jake and Neytiri got married, and they're now valued members of the tribe.
Okay.
And they have, I think, 3 kids. So they've got a bunch of kids, and the ones that stayed, some of the scientists and things, they say they've still got their little lab and things, and miraculously Sigourney Weaver's body, her avatar body, became miraculously pregnant.
Okay.
And had a baby, which now called Kiri, who is voiced by Sigourney Weaver. So you've got this like teenage girl, Navi.
Yeah.
You've got this teenage girl Navi with Sigourney Weaver's voice, which is a bit weird.
This sounds.
It's fucking batshit.
Because I've heard like generally pretty positive things about this. This sounds dreadful.
It's fucking weird.
But I'm kind of intrigued.
Her body just got pregnant, and they're like,
okay,
right, and they never really explain it. They do make a joke.
Jesus.
That, the sort of the nerdy one. The kids do make a joke at one point. It's like, it's got to be him. It's got to be him because they're taking the mick out of Kiri, and they're like, that's your dad. You're like, he's your dad. You're like, he did something dirty while other scientists weren't looking and stuff, which is actually quite funny.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing kids would do. Right?
But clearly she's got powers. She's like the mystic child now. Ooh, and so basically Quaritch is his name. Quaritch. The bad guy comes down, starts hunting them, captures a couple of them, but they escape.
Right.
So Jake basically says, okay, we need to move on. We have to, for the sake of the tribe, we're going to move on, right? So he gets his family, and off they go. There's also a human boy that was, like, randomly a baby got left behind, and now he's kind of like a little Tarzan kid.
He's gone native.
He's like Boy from the Tarzan movies. He's
okay.
He's running around, and he turns out to be. I mean, not really spoiling anything. He turns out to be Stephen Lang's son.
Huh.
Sure. Like, okay, weird, but fine. So they bugger off. They leave the tribe. We're going to go off to the distant lands, and so they then basically join this aquatic version of them, of the Na'vi, who are they've got sort of fins, and they can hold their breath for ridiculous amounts of time underwater, and they're all of them. They ride flying fish, and they've got connections with these whale sort of things. And they join this sort of tribe, and obviously the usual sort of, oh, we don't trust you yet, but we know we've heard the tales, we know you're a great warrior, so we'll let you sort of live with us, blah blah blah. And then it kind of moves to the kids kind of become the focus.
Sure.
So the kids become the focus, and you've got the sort of the middle boy who's a bit rebellious and a bit sort of angsty. He sort of joins with this whale that's an outcast from other whales, because these whales decided that they weren't going to be violent. They don't kill. They don't they live peacefully. But this whale, he went the way of violence, so he's shunned by the other whales. So they have a kinship, and they bond, and so you get this basically bad guy trying to hunt them down, them hiding in amongst this tribe. So, also you've got the sort of weird sort of story of the sort of special child stuff going on in as well. It looks fantastic, which I think they spent enough fucking time on it, so it fucking better look fantastic. The story itself is a bit okay. I watched it with my wife and my brother-in-law, so that made it more enjoyable.
Yeah.
The main problem I have with the story is it's a constant barrage of, why are you doing that? Why did you make that decision?
For like 4 hours.
Yeah, it's like the one of the main ones that I don't really get is he leaves his tribe. The family decide to leave their tribe because they're going to be hunted down by this dude, right?
Sure.
Why would you join another tribe and put them in danger?
Yeah, well, we don't really know this tribe, so fuck them. We'll just go there.
You think
don't bother getting to know any of them, honey.
They already live off the land. They're basically Native Americans, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, I assume that was the allegory, right?
Why wouldn't they just go off and live on a fucking mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere where hopefully they won't get found
and not get a bunch of innocent people killed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the main choice in this movie that I don't fucking get. It's just, it's such a fundamental sort of why that you just doesn't make fucking sense at all. It's so fucking weird, and it does take a while. It took me certainly a while to get interested in the kids.
Yeah.
In the beginning, first of all, it's like, oh Christ, do we really have to be with these fucking kids? Actually, they grew on me. They did. I did actually begin to, especially the sort of the rebellious one. It's cliche, but I genuinely thought, okay, I'm warming to this kid. I actually do. I'm warming to these kids. It's okay. I'm still with them. It's fine. It's way too fucking long.
Yeah.
It really doesn't need to be fucking 3 hours long. They could have definitely cut a fucking hour off, to be honest. Again, like I said, it's pretty. And there are some nice fight scenes. There are some nice, there's some good sort of little setups and things, and the performances are all pretty good. They're not. No one's phoning it in or anything, and it did feel like the main two characters got a bit sidelined.
Yeah.
They get their moments, but they did feel like we're moving to the kids now, and it's like, oh, okay, which was fine, but I think maybe you needed the 3 hours for you to get used to
grow
the kids,
on the kids, yeah.
Give a fuck about them,
maybe.
But I honestly didn't think it needed that much. It's fine. It's not a bad movie, but it's really not a good movie either. It was sort of enjoyable. The first one, it took me a while to actually see that. I didn't want to see the first one when it came out. I was like, oh god, that looks terrible. And when I did watch it, I regretted not seeing it.
I saw it in the cinema, and it was a good 3D. It was probably the best 3D movie I'd seen, because it was from the ground up. Well, actually, that and Gravity were two films that I was like, I understand 3D for once in both of those movies.
Yeah.
It was always style over substance in both cases.
The first one actually is a really good movie that,
it's just quite generic.
It's not on the level of, say, Star Wars or Star Trek, or it's not. It's never going to be that level, but it is an enjoyable, well-made movie.
It's an enjoyable,
second one,
somewhat cliche-ridden story.
Kind of more of the same, but
that's fine.
Wales, and it's fine. It's like I said, all the designs are great. Everybody's doing it, and actually, the kid performances are really good. Actually, they're not. I don't think anybody really sort of grated on me.
And it's not like whaling doesn't happen anymore. It's still relevant, right? Mm-hmm. It just feels weird because we went through a cinematic period of whaling, right, being the thing, and it feels very strange to suddenly come back to it in 2023. But I think it's still relevant. It still happens, and it's still
It's to do with Cameron's obsession with water, isn't it?
He's always been obsessed with
he loves his diving. He likes doing all this.
It's just kind of weird that, like, in the first movie, I barely remember them seeing much water, let alone, and now it's all about water.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, they've moved on. They've moved
up. I guess
they moved up the river, and now it's, and like I said, Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis are playing the sort of chief and of the this new tribe.
Yeah,
they're great. I mean, the Cliff Curtis, like, as soon as he turns up, he's got they've got Maori tattoos and stuff. It's like, and he spoke, and it was like, oh, that's Cliff Curtis. I know exactly who that is.
Yeah,
it's like, that's cool. That's fine. I'm happy with that. So yeah, you've got basically, you've got Native American Indians moving in with Maoris, basically, is what you've got in this movie.
Yeah,
and like I said, it's fine. It's enjoyable enough. I would highly recommend watching it with other people.
Sure.
Because that's what made it fun,
mm-hmm.
was that we could sit there and go, this is terrible, but at least we're having fun.
Yeah.
And we could take the mick out of it, and it was, fine. I mean, the whole, like I said, the whole things of, why are they doing that? Why have they done that? Why have they made that decision? It just sort of constant, like, this is so stupid. It just doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Yeah.
But fine, we'll go with it. It's a bit of a mess, but it's a sort of fun, pretty mess.
And that's fine.
Yeah. I honestly, when the next ones come out, I mean,
you're thinking a cinema trip?
3, 4, 5.
It's next year, isn't it?
They got more on the dock. I think they've already done. I think they've completely done 3.
I think it's out next year.
Yeah, I don't think I'll go to the cinema to see it, but I will watch it.
Yeah, sure. Well,
I'll definitely carry on with it, because they're kind of cool characters, and I kind of want to see where they're going with the special girl storyline.
Yeah,
just to see what becomes of that. So it's I kind of can recommend it. It's good enough. It's fun, but yeah, don't go expecting a really great movie, because it's not. It's far from that.
No, well,
nowhere near as good as the first one. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't terribly won over by the first one, so yeah, not in a big hurry, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all the films we're covering.
It is.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Did you hear they have announced a Babylon 5 animated movie?
Yes, and I was excited, and then I read the synopsis, and I'm less excited. But
I have not read a synopsis.
Oh, John Sheridan is going through the multiverse.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yes.
Okay.
Through time and space and alternate realities.
There's my fucking excitement tank.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened with me. I love Babylon 5.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and I will absolutely watch this for that reason. I have always said, and I always feel like Babylon 5 was rough first season. That aside, and season 5's not really their fault. They were told they didn't have a fifth season, and then they demanded a fifth season. So they'd kind of written it. And
so
finished.
Much fucking good stuff in season 5.
There's a lot of good in season 5, but it is noticeably.
The stuff with Londo and Jakar make season 5.
Yes, and the last episode, which I think is probably the best final episode of a series I've ever seen. Love that episode. However, I do feel like Babylon 5 succeeded because Straczynski had a plan. He had a beginning, middle, and end. And pretty much everything they did post Babylon 5, any tie-in like Crusade, they did the Crusade series for one season. I know it got screwed over by being shown out of order and stuff.
That did not get its due,
But it wasn't,
could have been something.
It could have potentially, but I kind of feel like everything they've done since has been a detriment to Babylon 5, you know? And so some of the
movies are okay.
Some of the movies are all right, yeah. Particularly ones like In the Beginning was pretty good because they just pretty much just made a movie out of the Minbari War and took all the old footage and made it into a film. And that kind of worked. I always remember those.
I quite like Third Space.
Third Space, that's the one with the. Oh no, Third Space. Yes, Third Space is the good one. I was thinking of the really awkward one with the Soul Hunter.
Right.
That was not so good. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I just as soon as it's like a multiverse thing, I'm like, why do I care now? Like, I'm so done with it. Unless it's everything everywhere, I'm just not. Like,
I mean, I'm pleased it's Straczynski's.
Yeah, that's the thing though. It is Straczynski doing it. We've got Bruce Boxleitner back. We've got the surviving cast members are back.
Which is not many, actually.
Which is sadly not many. But Peter Jurassic, I think, is back, and we've got a few of the main ones that are around. Obviously, Mira Furlan passed last year, the year before, during COVID, right? Andreas died years and years ago, as did Richard Biggs. There's not many left. We do have though. Claudia Christensen's coming back now. She obviously left during season 4 and never came back after that, so that's cool. Cool that we're getting her back for something. It's just I always feel like when it's like alternate realities and stuff, I'm just like, but it doesn't really matter anymore because I'm invested in this one universe that everything's been based in. If you take me to other ones, I'm like, I don't really care.
A good Elseworlds. I fully admit I love a good Elseworlds.
Well, I think this is probably what you'll get here.
But I think it's kind of got a bit saturated right now.
It just, I think what annoys me is there were some pretty good Babylon 5 novels, and I'm like, why didn't you just, because there's the great story.
Well, I mean, you can say that about almost every fucking franchise, right?
Well, yeah, but it
especially fucking Star Trek and Star Wars is like,
absolutely,
there are so many good novels. Why didn't you just fucking do those?
Yes, but you're talking about studios and writers and filmmakers that were never involved. It kind of feels like when it's Straczynski, I'm like, but dude, this is your thing.
Yeah.
And you wrote all of this stuff. I mean hopefully that's why we can put our faith in it and it'll be great. They
were doing a series, but I think it all fell through.
Well, I'm kind of glad the reboot fell through, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that was another one. I was like, oh, cool, okay, I'll watch a reboot. And then I saw it was going to be done by the CW, and luckily that's not happening anymore because the CW is dead. But, it was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I was excited until you said that you mentioned that. Like, oh dear.
I'm certainly going to watch it, and we'll see. Hopefully it'll be great.
Yeah.
I did comment that the because they've got that screenshot from the animated show, right? There's that one screenshot of the station, and it's like, the animated show has better CGI than the actual show had. The station actually looks way better. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just a little concerned. It's called The Road Home. Let's see if I can find the synopsis here. The synopsis that made me think, oh no. Travel across the galaxy with John Sheridan as he unexpectedly finds himself transported through multiple timelines and alternate realities in a quest to find his way back home. Unless he's played by Scott Bakula. Along the way, he reunites with some familiar faces while discovering cosmic new revelations about the history, purpose, and meaning of the universe. I mean, it could be cool.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there was a lot of sort of timey-wimey stuff in B5.
There was, absolutely.
So it's not like it wouldn't fit.
And I mean, we do have, obviously, in voice actors covering most of these roles, we do have confirmed, obviously, Garibaldi. We've got Jeffrey Sinclair, Zathras, Stephen Franklin, Jakar, Delenn. I'm really hoping, because we did get Walter Koenig in Picard, voice only. I am hoping we'll get we could get Bester. I'd like to see Bester.
He's playing his grandson.
In Picard he is. Yeah, he's playing his son, I think.
Oh, his
son. Yeah. Well, people live a lot longer in Star Trek, right?
Well, yeah, that's very true. I mean,
so he's playing his son, and he sounds very old. So
how old was McCoy in Next Gen?
He must have been like 150 or something.
200 or something.
Yeah, 200. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess.
I guess at least if it's
it's Straczynski,
Yeah.
That gives me a lot of faith.
It's a sort of an Elseworldy type thing. At least that means it's probably not going to fuck up the main story.
That's the thing, right? It might be a nice thing for the fans, and it's not going to affect anything particularly. It's not going to screw up, and they're not going to be like, oh, and suddenly, Babylon 5, John Sheridan didn't really matter. It was actually someone else. Yeah.
It was some nameless girl that suddenly turned up.
Yes.
Did it.
Ray Sheridan.
Ray. Yeah. Either that or they would move it to his wife, wouldn't they?
Or Delenn. Well, Delenn pretty much.
No, his first wife.
Oh, his first wife, yeah.
It'd be his first wife. She'd be the thing that she was the missing link all along.
Well, yeah, she died on Zachadum, didn't she? And then came back as evil robot version. Not robot version, pod person version. Oh god, I do you know, I watch Babylon 5 almost annually. It's like my thing. I do, probably because it is a bit more self-contained than like Star Trek. Because you start Star Trek, and I mean I have done that recently, but that does take a long time. Babylon 5 I can get through in a couple of.
I think Babylon 5 and the original Star Trek is I kind of do almost every year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The original series Star Trek is still I really struggle between that and Next Gen. I like it really is. I feel like I probably go closer to TOS.
Yep.
It depends on the day, to be honest.
Hands down for me, it's always the original series.
I think.
But, not that I'm saying Next Gen is bad. Right?
No, I love Next Gen.
I adore Next Gen too, but original series for me is I love it.
I like horror, and it's just classic horror in space. For the most part,
Yeah.
But yeah, Babylon 5. Let's just hope for the best. I hope Straczynski's involved. He's he knows.
I kind of have more.
And hey, you know what?
Still, than I did for the idea of the TV series, to be honest.
Yes, and
the whole CW thing.
Oh god, no. And also, I'm so like, you are not ever. Now, I will accept it for this animated show as a nice thing for us fans. You are never recasting Jakar successfully. Fucking never are you replacing Andreas Katsoulis. Like, never. Or Peter Jurassic, for that matter. Like, there are some actors in that show, particularly Andreas. Like, you're not beating that performance. Forget it.
And I don't think you could with Delenn either.
No, Mira Furlan is perfect in that role. But we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it'll be good. We'll see. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think that's it.
No. We had a trailer for Doctor Who.
I have
that
seen
show?
it.
Yeah.
I did watch it. I thought, okay, it at least looked interesting. It certainly felt like proper Doctor Who.
Did you know there were 3 of them?
I did.
I thought it was just one
no,
this
I
whole
knew
time,
it.
but then I was like, oh, there's 3. Okay.
Yeah, which again, it feels a little weird for Ncuti Gatwa, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I'm assuming that Ncuti's going to be in all 3 in like because it looked like in the first initial teaser that he was kind of trapped somewhere in that. Because in the last awful episode of the last awful show, they did the thing with all the other doctors, didn't they? Where they were on the edge of whatever. And I'm assuming he's going to be stuck there in his own mind, trying to, I don't know. But I'm assuming they will introduce him through those 3. But I mean,
the whole thing, reeks of desperation. It's so.
Oh, bringing back David Tennant.
We're dead. We are dead. We've been dead for a while.
We're bringing back the heyday of remember
bring people back to watch our very dead show.
Yeah.
Who is everybody's favourite Doctor Who?
David Tennant. Have all the money.
Yeah.
Come back for 3 episodes. God, that man though. He has got
to be unkind, but he is looking his age.
He's starting to, but I don't know.
He's not the sprightly young Doctor that.
Well, I guess that's why they've made it clear he's not.
Yes.
They're like, oh, he is like a new incarnation. Because he's
one of the old favourites.
He's one of those guys, though. He kind of looks. I think he looks a bit better for being a bit older.
Oh, he still looks great. I wasn't. That's why.
Some people kind of grow in. Some people kind of just like Connery. He got older, but he was always really handsome. It's kind of the same with David Tennant. It's like, he's looking older, but he still looks amazing.
Yeah,
I
know
what you mean, though. He is definitely
he
not.
Looks bad. I just mean,
he can't play 10.
Yes.
No. But fine. We'll see. I'm curious. I'll probably give the first one a go.
I don't know whether I can bring myself to do it because I couldn't with Star Trek. I couldn't with season 3 of Picard.
No.
Despite what everybody was saying, and even you, I just can't bring.
Well,
myself
I get it. I get it. I 100% get it.
I'm not sure I can with this either.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough.
It's Doctor so thoroughly burned me that.
Yeah. No, I get it. 100%.
I mean, even seeing the trailer was so nice seeing Donna, and so nice seeing Tennant together. It was it was lovely, and it kind of made me want to go, oh, I can watch that, but you get the whiplash of no, you can't. No, because it's not. They're not fixing anything.
Yeah, we'll see. November's a long way away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see how I feel nearer the time.
Yeah, I did see a set picture with Ncuti in a 70s setting.
Yeah, is that the one when he's got the afro and stuff?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is that in the trailer?
No, I just saw the still.
I didn't think it was in the trailer.
I think I saw the same still. I think that's from the next season, right?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was actually from a set from his set. And he looks great.
He like every shot I've seen of him is like, I do get proper good Doctor vibes from him. I'm totally feeling it. I mean, obviously we haven't really seen his performance yet.
No.
But I am totally feeling him visually.
I know he's amazing. A good actor. I've seen him act, so I know he's a good actor.
And Russell T Davies is a good writer. So I'm I do have a lot of I want to have a lot of faith. That's what I should say.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
No, if I can. It's just
Anyway, what are we going to watch next time? What are we doing?
So, I thought we'd do
Oh, you've got one in mind. You've got a specific one in mind.
I do.
Because recently you've been like, oh, well, maybe we'll do this one, or maybe this is a firm. Go for it.
No, I thought we'd do something gross and great.
Oh.
I thought we'd do Reanimator.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Sold. Yeah, definitely down for Reanimator. In fact, weirdly enough, I almost watched that this weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, it was just like, I was in the mood for like a kind of silly horror movie, and it was near the top of the list. So excellent. We will be back next time with a deep dive into Reanimator, a wonderful film. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.